So what events led you down the path of creating a skateboard company?
I kind of missed the speed of snowboarding when I was in Manhattan and I was too broke to actually go snowboarding. So I started, building, just trying to upgrade my skateboard to build faster skateboards so I can get through the city quicker. I was the buyer for this snowboard shop in Manhattan. It was a pretty big shop. A lot of times we would have broken snowboards and we call the company. They didn't want it back. They would just say, cut it in half and throw it away. We never really cut them up, but we had like a stack of 10 snowboards in the basement. And one day I just took all the snowboards and I thought it would be funny to just like cut a little skateboard out of the snowboard and see what that was like. Once I ran out of snowboards to cut up, I sort of started designing my own cores and, making some of the very early versions using carbon fiber and fiberglass, the same sort of, thing that snowboards were made out of. Never understood why skateboards are made out of plywood. I mean, you look at a tennis racket or golf clubs or a kayak or anything like that, they're using composite technology. It's like the wave of the future. Why is skateboarding still made out of plywood? There's a better way to make a skateboard. So I started designing this new thing called sprint boards, which is what I called it. Just for getting on the board and just pushing and going as fast as you can. Not having 2 feet on the board, just 1 foot on the board, and it's just made to win. That's when I designed some of these first boards. This is the first board I made, which is, fiberglass, has balsa core. There's actually some woven stainless steel in here. But this board was a different form factor than the regular skateboards that you see out there. This board is just flat, it's thin, it's light, it's just made to, push as fast as you can. I was actually building molds in my apartment. First, I was soaking wood in the bathtub, then I built a steam box because I started researching how to bend wood. I built this steam box that was on my oven with 4 tea kettles in it, and I would put the cores in there. This is totally like, you don't want to tell any firemen about what was going on in there. I started building these molds. Basically, went to Home Depot, got a bunch of 2x4s, started sanding them down, made molds, and then I would steam these cores, press them down into the mold, and then I would let them kind of cure, because with steam bending, they sort of cure in place. And then I would just lay up the fiberglass.
So what kept you motivated to continue innovating the design?
I was trying to mimic snowboarding. I was trying to find that speed and danger. I mean, that's why the name of the brand is Earthwing, because, I was thinking like it was kind of based off of this old 70s brand called Earth Ski. I was kind of looking for that old aesthetic, but Earthwing was just, you think of wing, it's quiet, and that's kind of what I wanted, because, when you have a flexible board with soft wheels that's made with really fast bearings and you're going down the street, you don't hear a thing. And that's a lot like snowboarding.
So what first sparks the idea for the Broadway Bomb, and what role did you play in its formation?
It was my idea. And maybe, they invented the wheel in 8 different places in the world at the same time. So maybe they invented the Broadway Bomb in 8 different places in New York at the same time. I'm telling you, it was my idea. The cops tried to stop us every single year. But the thing is, the first race, they were like, it was just Fred and Ian. They're like, let's do this, let's race. They raced each other. Second race, I think there were 7 people, and then there were like 16 people. Next thing you know, it was like 200 people. Like, we used to be able to go do the Broadway Bomb and then all fit into one bar. And that was the way it was. That's how we thought everything was going to be. We all knew each other. It was something stupid that we did. But then there was like 600 people showed up one year. And then like the exact following year, 3,000 people showed up. And then the cops tried to stop us every single time. But how are you going to stop a bunch of skateboarders? As I got more into it and these races started going, I decided to make a board for Ian. I think the 3rd Broadway Bomb, he won. Maybe it was the 2nd one. I don't know. That's the only time he ever won, was on one of my skateboards. And then Concrete Wave magazine did a spotlight on it and talking about the Broadway Bomb. And I called up Concrete Wave. I got in touch with them and talked to the editor. And I said, listen, the real story is I made that skateboard that Ian won on. Ian wasn't supposed to win. He won because he was riding my skateboard and it was faster. With Concrete Wave's help, that kind of kicked it into gear. I was like, okay, we have, I have some recognition in the industry. Like, this is turning into something. And there were a lot of, you could feel that longboarding there's a lot of attention to it.
What are your thoughts just looking back on the company's past? Is there anything you would do differently?
No, I mean, it was a great, well, yes, there's a lot of things I would do differently. I wasn't actively involved in skateboarding like I was when I was younger. So that's why I sold it to the new owner, who was a younger version of myself. I feel like my company is in good hands with David, who is a new owner. He's going to make choices and do things differently than I ever would. but that's what progression is. You know, you kind of have to, you know, turn it over to a new generation, you know. And I always think about the younger me, and like I really did know what I was talking about. You know, that's why I am not too proud to step aside and just say, you know, this great thing that meant so much to so many people deserves to live on, deserves to be led by somebody who is, you know, younger, more involved, and has real passionate aspirations for the direction of not only this brand but for longboarding and the longboarding community.